Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. My motto is, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." What that basically means is that you, the people, each of us, all of us, experience in these bodies, at this time, on this earth, the best life that is humanly possible. To me, that's about as good as it can get. I haven't heard anyone else propose anything better than that. But it's not just good enough to propose it. Why not pursue it? That is what this mission is all about. Today I'd like to talk to you on the subject matter, when God stopped answering prayers, what are you going to do? When I was a child, I acted as a child. I lived at home with mom, with dad. Some of you just lived at home with mom. Some of you just lived with dad. But many of you were blessed enough to live with both. They made sure that your needs were met in most cases. They made sure that you had a place to sleep, that you had clothes to wear, and that you had food to eat. They saw to it that you had an education, formal education, to teach you how to read, write, and add, or should I say arithmetic. Then they taught you things that were just reasonably respected, things that was expected of a decent rearing, how to treat people like you wanted to be treated. And they did this for years. Then there reached a point in your life where you felt that you had acquired as much knowledge from them as you could possibly acquire, and that it was time for you to go out on your own. You recognized that in the formal education you could read, you could write, and you could work arithmetic. And you knew right from wrong. And so it was time for you to go out, to fend for yourselves, to make sure that you had clothes, to make sure that you had food, to make sure that you had a place to stay, and to make sure that the education that you had acquired had a chance to express itself in the broader community. That's what putting away your childishness is, and becoming an adult, a man, a woman. That is the same thing it is with God. God brought you into this world, made sure that those things essential for you to acquire as a child, they were met. You prayed, your parents prayed, things came through for you. But then there comes a time when what God is about, what the whole spiritual thing is about, has reached its peak. And when it has reached its peak is when you have learned it. Now, many times we find reasons to not learn, and that is because we have not been introduced. Yet and still, there comes a time when you should have learned, and if you have not, then perhaps you have to go out at the same as when you didn't learn your stuff away from your parents. You had to live on Skid Row. You had to eat with the pigs. You had not decent clothes to wear. Well, here we are with the spiritual side. There's a time when God requires that you mature as adults, men, women, and God doesn't answer your prayer. Why? Because God has put forth those basic rules that if you had learned, you would know how to live on the spiritual side. Now, what the spiritual side is really to govern what you do on the physical side. You know, a lot of times to make it on the physical side, when we're out there finding life to be a struggle, when we can't have that food available to eat, or those clothes to wear, or that house to live in, or a job. We break rules of man. We lie, we cheat, we steal, we do whatever is necessary to survive. But see, on the spiritual side, there is an education that comes that prevents the need for ever lying, cheating, stealing to survive. Many of us in the world today have missed that message. We didn't get it from our parents because they didn't get it from their parents. And they didn't get it from their parents, and they didn't get it from their parents. And we have turmoil in the world as we have today. But what are we going to do when God doesn't answer our prayers? Do we continue to lie, to cheat, to steal, to do whatever is necessary to survive? We all know the end of that road, and it is called Armageddon. When we lie and cheat and steal in the physical world, we end up in jail, we end up in prison. But we have set a mold in our physical world that requires that you can't make it. Some of us can, but many of us can't. Why? Because we have put ourselves above other people. And we have put, in other words, we put self beyond everything else. Me, my family, my race, my church, my nation. And we will do anything to make sure that those that we consider mine survive. I, as an individual, cheat, lie, steal, and kill. I, as a family, will cheat, rob, lie, steal, and kill. I, as a community, will cheat, lie, rob, steal, and kill. I, as a nation, will cheat, lie, rob, steal, and kill. Why? To be surviving, to be on top, to be number one. That's the whole message. That is the message. That is the message of socialism. That is the message of communism. That is the message of capitalism and any other isms that exist on the planet today. But my friends, the true message of life is from the spiritual side. Is how do we achieve all of these things without committing lying, cheating, stealing, and killing? How do we do that? We do it by treating others as we want to be treated. We have been given a family to live in, so we can see how a family works, so we can see how important each participant in that family is. And as we see those that prepare for those who can't prepare for themselves, as we see that mechanism at work, we understand that every family requires this. And at the same time, while we understand that our family requires it, that family requires it, we come up, because of our spiritual guidance, to understand how both families can acquire it. How not only the family, but the community, how the community can acquire it. Not only the community, but how the nation can acquire it. How can the whole nation acquire that the family, that the individuals in it, that the families in it, that the communities in it, that the states in it, and all of those people can have food, clothing, shelter, education, health care, careers. How can we as a nation do it? The spiritual side says, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. When you plan, you're not just planning for yourself, you're planning for everybody else. The plan that you come up with must be reflected on your neighbor, must be reflected on your community, must be reflected on your state, and ultimately must be reflected on the world. Now, we have gone far, far, far away from that tradition. I don't even know if it's ever been a tradition. But somewhere I learned, for those of you who call yourselves Christians, there are other people who have other faiths. I won't say that I'm speaking to you because I don't know what your faith teaches you. But for those of you who are Christians, we know that everything that exists was made by a power that we cannot see, but we call it God. We know that all the materials above the earth, on the earth, and in the earth, and those things that we can identify with our senses, and those things that we have no idea of, exist because of what we call God. We don't own any of it. The fairest thing that we can do as a people is to be able to utilize all that we discover is usable in such a way that it works for the entire population of people within the United States of America without hurting people in any other nation. We don't have to say that our nation got to be greater than any other nation. To say that our nation got to be greater than any other nation is the same as saying that my family got to be greater than any other family in the community, in the state, in the nation. And we know what that will get. So it is time that we as people stop accepting our politicians saying that our nation got to be great. That means that they're willing to lie, cheat, steal, and kill to do that. I want you to understand from a spiritual perspective that we must learn and exercise those principles, treating others as we want to be treated. Just the other day, we got a special news reporting that Osama bin Laden had been killed. And the nation rejoiced because of what it has been said that he had a part in doing in New York City with the World Trade Center buildings being destroyed and all of those people losing their lives. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate this man's killing, I want you to understand that people in Afghanistan, people in Iraq, wherever our military force exists, where we have played a part in killing thousands of people to have our way, those people feel the same way about us. And they feel that we should be destroyed, that our president should be destroyed. And if they ever see that happen, they will rejoice in the streets, just as we were rejoicing in the streets at the death of Osama bin Laden. Can you see where that ends? That ends in Armageddon. And Armageddon is where the people have left God out of their lives in such a way and tried to do it on their own in such a way that has led it to a point of no return, and there's one thing and one thing only left, and that is total human destruction, even of this planet, physical destruction, if at all possible. Because by George, when we have that selfishness, if we're going to be destroyed, we're going to make sure that nobody else survives. So that might mean blowing up the whole entire planet. Can you see how selfish that is? Can you see how selfish that is? Now, we have been taught that the strong survive. That when you get your education, those who go out there and have to put more time in training, who have to commit themselves to more effort, should get a greater reward. That is the analogy of ones that do not know God. You see, when God made us, He put us in us a desire for a certain trade, for a certain gift, a certain talent, and qualified us with the right kind of brain, the right kind of size, the right kind of thinking. So when we receive the education that has been made available to us, we can do it eagerly, easily. And we acquire this knowledge for the purpose of exercising what it is designed for. To treat the sick, to build houses, to grow food, to make clothes, to do infrastructure. That is what we do. That's what we were designed to do. And as a result of doing this, all of the goods and services that we as a collective body of people have created, each of us can access from that reservoir whatever we desire. It's like living in paradise. It's like living in heaven. None of us suffer. Now, I know we have begun to teach ourselves that if you're a doctor, you make good money. If you can come up with some great invention, you make good money. But let me ask you, who are the richest people in this country? Liars, cheaters, stealers, gamblers, prostitutes, people who protect them, lawyers, Ponzi schemers. These are the people who rank at the top of life. And people like Bill Gates, you say you want to honor him as being representative of what it means to be successful in America. You don't know that Bill Gates is a thief. Yes, he's a thief, but he's a legal thief. Why does he have billions of dollars? He has billions of dollars not because so many people bought computers in their programming, but because they were overpriced. Most recently, we have discovered that the big oil companies have billions of dollars more in profit than their headquarters before. Why? Because they increased the prices. And the people needed the oil, they needed the gas, and they paid the price. They were being robbed all along, robbed. I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't care where you are, black, white, men, women, wherever you are being robbed. When we're not doing things the right way, the way that would benefit all of us, we are being robbed by some and sanctioned by the many. Is this the way you want to live? Well, that's the way we're living. And this is inbred in us. And this, what I'm speaking to you of today, will not resonate with you because you don't want to have anything to do with it. All you want to do is be rich. Well, you can't play sports, so you can forget being rich. You don't have that talent, entertaining, so you can forget being rich. You don't have that beauty that men will pay you to be exploited, so you can forget it. But you still have the right. You still have the right. But where we are today, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to take men, maybe some women, who are led by the Spirit of God. Politicians, people who go to church, they are walking this line today that we are walking, that this nation is traveling. And it's leading us to doomsday. So when I say it's going to take men that are led by God, it's going to take men who have been awakened, whose minds have been renewed. They think of things different. They don't think of the I without the us. They see it all included. They know that we are living in a time when we must stand up, and in standing up, going against the norm means that we will be killed. We will be killed as Gandhi, as Jesus, as Martin Luther King, as Malcolm X, as Medgar Evers, as John Brown, and all of the thousands of people who were killed while they were walking on this path of enlightenment. But the secret is that people who are led by God realize that there is another life. And if there isn't another life, they don't care. Because this life, right now, is the only life that's important. And to have some significance, to understand what the importance is not how well we can live, even though we desire it. Not how long we can live, even though we desire it. But how well the nation can live. How long the nation can prosper. And it is able to do that because men who were led by the Spirit of God did the surgery that was necessary to eradicate the lying, to eradicate the stealing, to eradicate the cheating, to eradicate the killing. It is a call for you, ladies and gentlemen. What are you going to do when God stops answering prayers? Are you going to rise to the occasion? Or are you going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah, who believed that God had nothing to do with their life, that if they listened and followed the dictates, the rules and regulations, the Spirit of God, that they would lose their lives? And in the end, lost it anyway. I challenge you as people, as human beings, as my family, extended family, to change your way, to rethink the life that we're living, and to focus on how we as a people can live and be happy, how we as a nation of people can prosper, how we as a nation of people can experience joy in our lives. I challenge you today to refocus, aim to become greater than you are, aim to become greater than your family is, aim to become greater than your community, aim to become greater than your nation. And your reward will be heaven on earth. So once again, God stopped answering prayers. What are you going to do? You better have learned the rules of life. Therein is your survival. Bye-bye.